Thank you so much for being here today. I know we're going to have a really great day. I'm excited to kick things off. I'm Shaun Dunne and I'm going to be the MC, which means it's my job to keep us on track and to keep us on the clock, and I'm excited for the challenge. Today's symposium is a part of Art 2023. Art 2023 is a call to artists and art organisations to create new and exciting work while reflecting on the themes of the Decade of Centenaries programme. The Arts Council, in partnership with the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media, is delighted to present this national arts programme. A key element of Arts 2023 is today's event. The Arts Council is celebrating its 9th and final year of the Next Generation Award. To mark the ending of this initiative, the Arts Council has organised this symposium today as a means to reflect on the role and the impact of all 178 artists who have received this prestigious award since its inception. So I'm here as MC, but I also was a recipient of the award in 2020. I was the Next Generation Film Artist, and I can speak from personal experience in just saying that it absolutely revolutionised my practice, particularly in that tricky year of 2020 where all other work ceased. It gave me the space and the time to still engage with myself and in what I wanted to achieve in the future. I found great mentorship through the award, time to reflect, time to build new concepts, new ideas, and the work that I developed over that time, with thanks to this award, is still touring internationally, is still streaming, is still being viewed and gathering audience all the time. So I'm extremely grateful to the award, and I'm very happy to be here to help this conversation happen. So you're about to hear from two brilliant speakers, Minister Catherine Martin and Arts Council board member Andrew Clancy. Andrew is actually going to introduce the Minister, but before he comes on stage, let me tell you a little bit about him. Andrew is an architect and an educator as well. He established the award-winning Clancy Moore Architects with Colin Moore in 2008 and completed his PhD with RMIT in 2017. As a board member, Andrew sees his role with the Arts Council as a means to support the full richness of architectural practice and the arts more broadly. So over to you, Andrew. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Shaun, for that beautiful introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here and an honour indeed. And a really warm welcome to you all, and to Director Kennelly and the Minister in particular. And before I hand over to the Minister, who's going to introduce proceedings more formally, just to thank her in particular for this programme, for her presence here today and her investment in these kinds of events, and to say that, of course, she's got a very busy portfolio and will unfortunately not be able to stay for the full morning. But to contextualise today, today's conference arises as part of a commemoration, a centenary. Centenaries have a very interesting social geometry. They point to events distant enough to have become simple, inevitable almost, and yet they're proximate enough that many people living will have known people alive at the time. They sit on the tide line between being a past and being a history. By this, I mean they sit at the intersection of subjective and apparently objective narratives. We can just about see that the events we mark could have been other, rather than being seen only as being inevitable. And commemorations can be many things. They can be triumphalist, therapeutic, traumatic, but fundamentally they're about looking back. It's memory layered over with an action that conveys respect or imports meaning. Commonly, elsewhere, this process seeks the conversion of once settled past, or once living pasts into settled history. But today we're gathered to look to the future, to discuss emergent thinking, to discuss you and your work and the conversations that you can shape what comes next. And on a superficial, these two directions, forward and back, don't quite rhyme with the idea of commemoration. And I was interested in this, and I wanted to kind of reflect on this. And it struck me that in the moment that a past is being formed, and certainly long before it can be history, it is a quotidian flow, its power in its ever-imminent bodied becoming. Long before the events that made the Decade of Centenaries, there were plans, there were frustrations, there were angers. Before these, there were considered reflections, and before these, there was emergence, something felt, not thought. only recognized in its direction, only seen in its impetus. And here we find a common ground, maybe, for the arts seek, as we know, this same unstable ground. All of us here can empathize with the feeling of having emergent thought, emergent practice. For those here as bursary winners, of course, it came long before today, long before your bursaries, long before you wrote the applications. And in opening the day, I thought of this common ground, not next generation, which seeks to describe things in monoliths, but the common ground of emergence that might unite us all. And that if we can recognize it as a quality, then what are its constituents? What does it ask of us? We might start by noting that emergent thinking arises despite greater plans and structures. It finds itself in the fissures between known things. It seems to happen less among certainties or clarities. It is born perhaps by a latent or implied dissatisfaction with the nature of things as found, or a fascination with an aspect overlooked. Emergence is not instrumental. It is not yet for anything. It is not hammer, it is not nail. This is not to diminish it, rather it is to clearly articulate that that form of thinking is not quantifiable and sits beyond the languages of production or commodification. Emergent thinking is attentive, attuned, and unguarded to the world. So often the emergent thinking that becomes transformative arises in conditions of marginalization, peripherality, disconnection. It is vulnerable. In its vulnerability is its power and also its burden. This vulnerability means that emergence too can carry anger. In this I mean the form of anger that acts as an act of care, anger that arises from a feeling of powerlessness about something or someone that is not being heard or is being overlooked or not yet understood. Emergence in its early form can occasionally be inarticulate, even if carried by very articulate people. Emergence starts situated and personal and grows from this to a generous insight that can galvanize. And while it does not always seek the big themes, it frequently sneaks up on them and finds them in their parts. We know from our northern poets in particular how the epic can be found in the terribly everyday. And for all these aspects, emergence finds it very hard to put a value on itself. Insecurity and doubt seem to be its companions. It finds valence in affirmation and in recognition. By this, I do not mean public recognition, I do not mean praise. I mean the simple recognition that acts as an act of recognition, of familiarity, of acceptance. Emergence, not knowing itself, asks, "What do you think of this?" and is genuinely interested in the answer. If someone responds by saying, "I see what you mean," this might be the beginning of how emergent thinking becomes something greater. And the arts are at the core of our nation, and I do not mean this in some cliched manner, but in the idea that the validity of any nationhood is not conveyed by geography, but by an ever-moving consensual narrative, one which is ever inflected to the changing day-to-day, to the changing personhood of who is gathered here. Emergence, therefore, is not aware of change as disruption, but as a gentle insistence of currents not seen by others. And for this reason, emergent thinking is also unstable. Do not be confused if it changes form, or if the person once understood to be doing a certain thing is now doing something else. Follow the threads that carry them there and you will see the consistency. Emergent thinking is conditional, suffused in the conditions and techniques of its birth. It can be thought of as a collective subconscious. Ideas arise and in their sharing allow for empathetic construction of wider insights, moments of recognition that put words on things not yet known. Conversations happen in the ambit of this sharing. Checking this process, retarding it, not allowing it to be manifest, prevents the evolution of society and of our nation. The form of this manifestation, from politics to the arts, might appear superficially divergent, but at its core, I believe, has these common impetus. And this country has not always been a good place for this. And in the bursary project that forms the centenary, there is another story. You are here because groups of your peers have recognized something extraordinary in your thinking that the country could benefit from seeing grow. It says a lot that this process might sit at the heart of a commemoration, that it seeks to inclusively nourish the restless questioning that lies at the heart of change and is the true manifestation of any mature nationhood. The monies, over 2.7 million, dispersed in these bursaries are not quite investment, it is an act of trust. It is not concerned with outcomes, but with impetus. You are not here because the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht Sport, and the media, together with the Arts Council, want to procure some art for the state. You have been given some but to support you as you might represent the state of the art, or the state of the state. You have been given some small support, trusted with time, to carry your thinking and work, to share it, so it finds the next step in its formation, and we are proud to be associated with you. It is fitting that you are here together in Dublin Castle, a place that has shaped and informed the identity of this country, frequently top-down, both in the past and in the future. Today, this happens in the opposite direction. Emergent thinking, given some space, asked to reflect, asked to come together to direct what might come next. We know that the thinking in this room was not easily won, and that its collective intelligence offers us a glimpse of a moment that, for all its vulnerability, will someday seem to someone looking back as being inevitable. So this commemoration points to the past and to the future. Far from seeing the past as something set, it understands that history is just the way that things turned out, and that the process of becoming is ongoing. I also think of your more recent pasts and of the directions that brought you here. And to revisit my initial confusion then, it might be useful to recall that commemorate, the word itself, has roots in the joining of the word altogether with relate. And here is a more useful rhyme with the Irish word commora. It asks for communality, congregation, and the building of relationships and connections. To some extent, we can understand that all human knowledge is memory, formed experientially and then embodied individually and collectively. Commemoration implies, therefore, the potential to be in itself a form of new knowledge-making. And this extended act of remembering seeks to trace and reinvigorate conversations about the conditions that led to a certain act of becoming. It's very good to be together with you today and to build the relationships for what comes next. We will talk about the future and where you see things going from now. I could not imagine a better frame to put on today, and look forward to the conversations that will follow from this. And from this contextualizing of maybe the emotional substrate to today, I wanted to hand over to Minister Catherine Martin, who in her portfolio has enabled these magnificent programmes and has placed incredible trust in bodies such as the Arts Council, which we are very invested in directing in ways which allow the best and greatest manifestation of cultural intelligence in this nation. So thank you, Minister. I look forward to hearing your words, and hand over to you now.
Díomh go léir agus is cúiseáthar sama bheith libh maidin don Symposium seo chun nuacha a dhéanamh chracht téimi agus tusaí agsúla don na níom lína de gradam allantóirí na céad glúna eile. Tásúla go mé an timach seo luach for díomh chun labhairt agus aithne a chur céile mar grúpa an seo I gasláin bhaile clia agus gam buchas leis an OPW as an áitir chur a fáil dúin inniu. I join with Shaun and Andrew in thanking you for taking up the invitation to attend and participate in the symposium today as part of Art 2023, an important partnership between the Arts Council and my department to support the making of ambitious new work reflecting on the many diverse themes arising from the Decade of Centenaries programme 2012 to 2023. This partnership brought fresh perspectives to a complex period of our history, just as you have all done so successfully through your work as next generation artists since 2015. The Decade of Centenaries programme has encouraged and supported artistic and creative expression right from the outset in 2012, and there have been so many highlights since. Culture and creativity have always been at the heart of the programme, and we've seen some truly innovative and thought-provoking work over the past number of years, which has helped many of us understand and reflect on what can sometimes be very challenging themes. I know that Art 2016, under the wider Ireland 2016 programme, was a key part of marking the centenary of the 1916 Rising. And this creative dimension to the programme brought fresh and interesting perspectives on that seminal moment in our history and created an opportunity for the creation of what we know as the Next Generation Award. And that decision has been well vindicated by your presence here today, your learning and development acquired as creatives, and indeed through your own artistic practice, your unique contribution to the national conversation on our complex path to independence. Since 2016, Government has continued to invest in the cultural element of the Decade of Centenaries, not least with the Creative Ireland programme as a specific and direct legacy, but also with, for example, funding for a creative imagination dimension at the community level of the programme through annual funding to local authorities. My department has also supported an artist in residence scheme in partnership with a number of cultural institutions, the Markovich Award and Poetry as Commemoration. In addition, my department has directly supported innovative and immersive theatre productions on a number of historic events being commemorated under the Centenaries programme, and there are many other examples over recent years, all of which have connected people with our history in new ways. 2023 is the final year in the programme for the Decade of Centenaries, and it is timely, therefore, to acknowledge now all of the work of our partners across multiple disciplines who have made our shared history accessible and engaging for everyone, revealing fresh insights and a richer understanding of our past. Historians, custodians of archives, librarians, our national cultural institutions, institutions of learning, local communities and local authorities, media and broadcasting organisations, and you, the Next Generation Award recipients, along with the wider creative and artistic community, have all shown us that there are many different ways to authentically engage with our past. Through the Decade of Centenaries, we have gained new perspectives on events we thought we understood already. We have examined the complex narratives surrounding Ireland's participation in World War I and the experiences of Irish men and women who served and sacrificed their lives, which for many years remained in the shadows or were forgotten altogether. Artists have been central throughout this process. The important contribution by women in our history has also come to the fore. New research, archival discovery, and engaging initiatives throughout the Decade of Centenaries have revived and highlighted the role and experiences of women during the revolutionary period, and have indeed informed some of our contemporary national conversations about achieving full recognition and realising true equality for women. The Markovich Award and Mná 100 are just two of the initiatives from my own department that support exploration of this rich history. Great new work has emerged as a result of this additional focus and investment and the application of exciting creative minds with diverse perspectives. Cultural engagement can offer a safe space to explore the complex narratives which arise in the context of our shared history, and your work has contributed greatly to fostering that engagement by drawing in new audiences with your original artistic take. For many members of the public, this will be how they will choose to engage with these narratives through art and creative expression. The Next Generation Artists Award provide a unique opportunity for young and emerging artists and creators and signifies how much their contribution and insight, all of you, are valued as we continue to discuss and debate the formation of our state. The three planned panel discussions here today will help us to reflect further, and we look forward to hearing some of the contributions and outputs. This cohort of artists is ideally placed to think about the shape and substance of art in the future and perhaps to inform what is the best way to support the changing practices of future practitioners. And this symposium presents us with a unique opportunity to hear diverse voices and to learn. With a wide range of sometimes disruptive or arresting new work encompassing our past, encapsulating the present, and imagining our shared future throughout the country, I look forward to being engaged by your creative imagination over the years ahead, and I know you have great audiences for your work, wherever it is produced, at home, in your communities, or indeed further afield. They will not be disappointed. The structure and format of today's event is designed primarily as a day for appreciation, reflection, and sharing around your inspiration, your craft, and your art. And I hope that each of you find it to be a productive day. Above all, I hope everyone here today enjoys a very positive experience from this gathering. Tá ag tnú le lergus a all ar dachi agus narca maidir le halín a cruchu ón lá aniu agus giam gachrach arv ser. Berbua agus ganairi le villa.
Thank you to the Minister. Thanks again, Andrew. That was a really nice link for what we're about to experience next. Today is a day for appreciation and reflection, and of course we're going to be appreciating a lot of thinking that's gone into our practices over the last few years, but also some work itself as well. So we're about to see a scene from Hole in the Head, which is a dark comedy drama written and directed by Dean Kavanagh. It was produced by Anja Mahler. Dean and Anja were awarded the Next Generation Award jointly in 2018, and Hole in the Head is their second feature film collaboration. It was funded under the Film Project Award in 2020. The film is an experimental narrative about corrupted memory and fiction and trauma in family archives. It follows an amateur filmmaker who restages his childhood home movies in order to solve the cold case of his parents' disappearance. In this scene, which is towards the end of the film, the protagonist has lost his grip on reality, and it is unclear whether or not he has faked his own death. There is a content warning. Please be aware that the following clip contains imagery suggestive of suicide and self-harm. Thank you.
He left his phone behind.